Hello everybody and welcome to the second episode of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Let's play. This is the character creation screen. When you click new game, this is what you get. You can either answer a series of questions that will lead you to a vampire clan that they suggest, or you can go directly to the sheet and choose yourself. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to show off the clan. Let's start with the Bruja. There's a male Bruja, female Bruja. These are your fighters, your punch first and ask questions later brawlers. They're not very good at talking themselves out of situations, but they are great in combat. Here are the gangrels. They're very animalistic. They can control animals. Sometimes they can turn into animals. You can see by the stance on this male gangrel. They're very animalistic. They're very sort of nomadic in nature. They're very strong, but they're more likely to frenzy, which is when you kind of lose control of your character. There's plus and minuses to each of these clans. I'm going to go through them really quick. Here's everybody's favorite clan, the Malkavians. The Malkavians are cursed and blessed with insanity. They literally have craziness running through their veins. The plus side of this is that they have insight, they have visions and stuff, and they kind of know what's going on before anyone else does. But because of their insanity, sometimes they hear voices, sometimes their insanity is so bad that they cannot function in society. They talk really weird. That is the case with the Malkavian in this game. They talk very weird. The dialogue options are completely different when you play the Malkavian. That's one great way if you've played through with some of the other clans to shake things up. And another great way is to play as the Nosferatu. Their curse, as you can tell, is their physical deformities. They are but ugly. And you cannot just run around town with them. There are some people that will cause a masquerade violation if they see you. I will explain what a masquerade violation is in just a little bit, but you have to spend a lot of time walking around in the sewers to get around a lot of the issues that Nosferatu have in front of people. This is kind of like the hardest of the hard mode in this game, because it is very difficult sometimes navigating the sewers. They can be a slight bit overwhelming. Here's the Toreadors, male Toreador, female Toreador. These are your Anne Rice kind of vampires. They prize beauty. They prize art. They're very artsy people. They're very social vampires. So they're not as strong as like the Bruja, but they can talk their way out of anything. One cool little tidbit is in the core book for the tabletop role-playing game. They talk about how most of the people that Toreadors take into their clan are artists, and they want to preserve that person's art, only to find that when they become a vampire, the vampirism has kind of stripped them of all of their ability to create art, and so they're very melodramatic and very over the top and very emotional vampires. This is the Ventru. The Ventru are your businessmen, your board leaders. They are the ones who run stuff, manipulate people, take over things. They are the businessmen. They own businesses. They wheel and deal and wine and dine. They kind of have a combination of you know, smoothly talking their way out of things and also intimidating people. And you'll notice I skipped over one clan, and that's because that's the clan we're going to be playing as, and that is the Tremere. The Tremere are basically your witches and warlocks of the vampire world. There are actually wizards in the vampire world, not in this game, but there are in the White Wolf games. But they have what's called blood magic. They can actually use their blood to cast spells and do magic and whatnot. But they are hated by a lot of vampires because the way that their clan came upon those magical powers involved them experimenting and sacrificing on other vampires, which they don't feel is very cool. So now we're going to choose our character's name. We might as well, right? What shall we name ourselves? You know what? Let's just use my screen name to Halo Check. Why not? Now histories, this is something that has been added by the patch, or restored by the patches. These histories, basically, they will give you pluses and minuses. For instance, Bar Singer Seductress, this says that when you were alive, you were, you know, well, you can read it, you know, drunken overtures from traveling businessmen, room keys. Yeah. And so this swaps the priority order of your abilities, which means, because there are some abilities you can have more points to start in and some you have less, and that kind of swaps it. And then there's stuff like Infernal. See, advancement in Thaumaturgy, which is your blood magic, costs you less, but Auspex, which is like seeing auras and stuff, has half the duration, so it lasts for half the time, and you can never raise dominate, which lets you intimidate people and control them, above level 3. So there's plus and minuses for each of these, and you can play around with them. I'm not particularly fond of them, so we're going to be doing no history. None is what we're going to be choosing. Okay, so we're going to go to the next screen. Now, anybody who's played a White Wolf game or any tabletop role-playing game will kind of get what's going on here. This is your character sheet, basically. So let me go over a little bit what we have here. From the top bottom, this is your humanity. Humanity is how far away you are from the beast. It's the ability to control yourself and not let your primal instincts take over. The less humanity you have, the more less morally correct dialogue options you have. You can lose humanity by going around slaughtering people needlessly, killing people, doing reprehensible things, but you also gain a lot of humanity by doing different things in the game. You can also spend experience points to up your humanity, but humanity is not really a big deal. I never touch it. I never have a problem with it. There are some quests that will make you lose humanity, but there's also just as many quests that will make you gain humanity, so it's really not an issue unless you want to, save your game and have a little bit of fun going on a bloody rampage. These 5 faces right here are your masquerades. What the masquerade is it's that kind of performance that vampires put on that make themselves look like they're regular everyday people. And to make sure that they can still function, they want to uphold this masquerade. So every time you do something that kind of alerts humans to the presence of vampires, you get a masquerade violation. The more violations you get, the more you'll start seeing vampire hunters and other vampires start coming after you. And if you get all 5 masquerade violations, you lose the game. There are some things that you can do, nothing you'll be forced to do that'll make you lose the masquerade, but there are some quests that will give you masquerade redemption when you do something to hide the presence of vampires and the supernatural from humans. So, if you mess up and you lose a masquerade point or 2, don't worry, because the quests you're going to be doing are going to give you a couple of points. But if you get 3 or 4 points, be careful, because you're going to start seeing people try to attack you. So that's this top here. I guess I'll go over this really quick. You have attributes, abilities, and disciplines. Your attributes go into physical, social, and mental. This shows you that I start with 1 point in physical, 2 points in mental. I've yet to allocate them. I'll probably do that in the next video. Abilities, talents, skills, and knowledges. They're broken down that way. I have 2 points allocated for talents, 1 point for skill, and 3 for knowledges. So I'm going to get to put those there. And my disciplines, aspects, which like I said is like seeing auras and stuff, dominate, which allows you to control people's minds and actions, and thaumaturgy, which is a discipline that is exclusive to the Tremere, which is their blood magic. And these are your feats. These are combat, covert, mental, and soak. Combat is how much damage you do. Soak is how much damage you prevent from yourselves. Covert is stuff that's sneaky. And mental is stuff that has to do with the way that your mind works and the way you interact. I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail about how these affect the game in the next video, because I am running a little bit out of time and I don't want to interrupt myself. So I will end this video here and I will start back up in just a minute.